everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Presentation Zen podcast. This month's special guest is Yayoi Oguma, all the way from Tokyo. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm still in Tokyo, so.
You are in Tokyo, which is about 4 hours from here on the.
That's right.
On about 3 or 4 trains, including the bullet train.
That's right. So I guess that my image is traveling all the way to your place, but I'm still here. So.
That's right. So you're at home, I guess.
Yeah, I'm at home. Yes, that's right. This is my home.
In Tokyo. What floor are you on there in Tokyo?
On the third floor.
Okay, not too bad. So if there's a big earthquake, it's not going to shake.
No. I specifically chose low-rising buildings.
Okay, well if we have an earthquake, we're just going to keep on going. So if you move a little bit, we'll be okay.
Yeah. I can handle that.
Okay, so enough wasting time. So why don't you tell us who you are and what do you do? And you are known for something special, actually.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I work as a simultaneous interpreter, and I'm known for someone who has mastered command of English in a very short period of time, like 6 months, from TOEIC score of a 280 to 805 in just 6 months, and then became a simultaneous interpreter within, technically speaking, 3 years and 6 months.
Yeah, that's amazing. For a lot of people don't know, they might just think if you're fluent in 2 languages, say, then it would be easy to interpret. But I can't even interpret in my own language. And that's an exercise you do, right, when you go to school. Just to repeat what other people say, even in your native language, is an amazing talent and skill. So you're not just any translator or interpreter. Sorry, there's a difference. You're an interpreter, although you do some translation as well. But
that's right.
Mainly you're an interpreter, and but you're famous for interpretation. I mean, you're one of the top interpreters in Japan. Are you not?
Oh well, it's hard to explain, but
okay. So wait, this is the bunka no sa. This is the culture difference.
Yeah,
so if you were American, you would say, "Of course." I mean, I'm awesome.
I'm awesome. Yeah, I am awesome. It's just that interpreters have a long career, and some interpreters have been doing this for over 50 years. Like they are in their 60s and 70s, and they're still working as a simultaneous interpreter. So if I compare myself with someone like them, of course, I'm dwarfed by them. But relatively speaking, compared with those who have a similar years of career, yes, I think I'm ahead of the game.
Yeah, well, you've got quite a reputation as an interpreter. But let's step back. And for those, some people don't know, but a lot of people who are listening to this or watching this are in Japan or have something to do with Japan. And English spoken, which is spoken as a foreign language, not as a second language, but as a foreign language. And Japan, in spite of all the efforts and all the money that they put into English education, if you look even in Asia, it's near the bottom, at least by measuring, TOEFL scores or TOEIC scores. It's really a struggle. People are really nice. I mean, tourists can come here and they don't need to know any Japanese and they'll be fine, and people will the people at the train station or waiters, they'll be very friendly, even though their English might be limited. But in a business context, if I go to China, I don't even need an interpreter really anymore. But if someone, because everyone in the big companies at least speaks English, but in Japan and even in the big companies, you might need an interpreter if you're going to use English. Well, what do you think? How is English education in Japan? What's the current state? How far have we come? How far have we got to go? And how did you get so good at English?
Oh my God, you are bombarding
a lot of questions.
Lots of questions.
I'll remember them. So just all right.
So please allow me to handle just one by one. Well, regarding the current situation of English. Ability among the Japanese people, I think compared with 20 years ago when I started out my career as an interpreter, I think, we've come a long way. Because when I was, when I just started out as an interpreter, most of them had to rely on my interpretation I mean, that was the majority. And these days, I would say that it's just a minority, like a couple people or a handful of people out of maybe 20 people or so would need our services. So I think that the situation has changed greatly. And I think we are on the right track, even though that unfortunately it's not represented in the TOEIC scores or the TOEFL scores. Therefore, we still rank low internationally.
Yeah, well, just not even looking at scores, but anecdotally, just from experience, I think excuse me, I think if you talk to a lot of English teachers, professors in Japan, they would say that there's been some progress, but maybe not a great progress. But it's hard to say because there's cultural differences in the way students just don't speak up. They don't speak up in Japanese or in English, so it might not just be an English problem.
Yeah, that's true.
But how did you were, of course, you're still very young.
Thank you.
But you were about what, 19 or 20 when your English was very
low. I decided to become an interpreter when I was 20 years old.
Okay, so you're 20 and your English is kind of mama. So it's not.
I spoke broken English because I shared an apartment with 5 Americans for about 1.5 years. But living with them in Japan still doesn't really give me that immersion that I would need to become fluent. So I understood like some parts of their conversation, and I could get by with my broken English to get across the points, the minimum points that I needed to, communicate living with them.
But what was your secret? You said you improved greatly in 6 months. So how did you do that?
Well, I think combination of multiple things. I think motivation was the greatest key because I needed to make a living, and the only way for me to do that was to acquire English ability, and then use that to make a living. So I had this strong drive.
Yeah.
So that helped me absorb everything I learned in school. But I think, another thing is that the school that I picked was the right one for me. Like in terms of they teach English, and then also the way I needed to be taught, I guess.
Well, what is that specifically? Because a lot of Japanese students are quite frustrated because they've studied for almost 10 years in some cases, and they still struggle. But you made a great improvement in 6 months. Okay, so one is motivation.
Yes.
And you had a sort of a fear of, in a way, because you had to make money, you had to get this job, so you're extremely motivated.
Well, extremely motivated. So therefore I absorbed everything. A lot of people say that you need to so I think the biggest difference between those who went to the same school but did not, improve their English skills as well as I did, is that in their cases, they were still remained as a passive student.
I see.
And in my case, I tried to, visualize whatever I learned from the teachers into the real situation. Oh, I could use this phrase in this situation. I could do so that I think a visualization, and then prepare yourself to use that phrases or the vocabulary you just learned immediately.
Right. So you do that.
Almost like I do that all the time.
Through visualization, even when you were a student. So rather than just trying to memorize it and recall it later, you're running it through your mind. Okay, I could use that. It'd be better if you could go to the bus station and talk to the bus driver, but you can't. But you can do that visually.
But another thing is that I actually use those phrases and vocabulary. So with teachers, and also at that time too, I lived in Tokyo, so there were quite many foreigners living in Tokyo. So, and I didn't have the hesitancy. I wasn't shy at all. So I would just, spoke to them and then, try out and make a mistake.
Right, right. Well, I mean, that's
And
that's the key, right? So you've covered motivation, visualization, and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly.
Well, that's a key one, and that's a really hard one.
Yeah, I think so. But, because I was in a desperate situation, I didn't have anything to lose. And I gained so much by making mistakes.
Yeah, well, I love that attitude, and that's what we, the wall we come against in Japan is because not just in language, but in everything,
right?
Through making mistakes and trial and error and exploration, that's how we learn. But in Japan, at least from junior high onward, the education system is, doesn't reward mistakes.
But actually, even at the elementary school, I still remember clearly that the, teacher corrected my first stroke of ha. Ha straight down, and you have to make like a check mark ending, right? And then I missed that part. I just drew a straight downward line, and then teacher gave me no score for it, and then corrected it in red, and I clearly remember that.
Yeah,
that was such a fearful experience as a student, right?
Yeah,
because you worked hard to remember ha, and then just because of missing just this little tiny
you got
stroke,
zero. You got zero,
and I got zero. No reward.
Yeah.
So
and
then I'm sure this happened to all the students who studied in the Japanese education. So it's understandable if they were not in that dire situation that I was in, that they would be afraid to make mistakes.
Sure. It's funny you talk about not being rewarded. I recall in the Japanese test. What is that called? The Nihongo Noryoku Shiken.
Yeah.
I call it the Nihongo Noryoku Jiken, which means like a accident. 3 people got that. But anyway.
I got it.
Yeah.
One of them.
What was I talking about? Let's say, it's a big test, so it has to be multiple choice just because there's 100 people in the room when you take the let's say listening test or a writing test. So let's say the word is the sentence is benkyo. Benkyo is a easy 2 kanji. It's quite complicated, but every gaikokujin learns that because you Nihongo o benkyo suru. So I know what benkyo is. Everyone knows benkyo. But if you put 3 other possible kanji together that look very similar, I mean almost identical except maybe 1, 10 here and like, oh come on. I would never get benkyo wrong. So of course I got it wrong. I got 0. So it means it's saying 0% of the word benkyo, which is 2 kind of complicated kanji, but also very standard. And that's not true. I do know benkyo suru.
Right.
But I didn't because I could read. I wasn't sure of the... Well, I mean, there's some good things for that too. When you study martial arts, of course, when you're very young, of course, there's a certain way of doing things, and you need to learn that. But I don't know if it applies to language and things.
Yeah, language, I think that serves as a disadvantage. But that perfectionist creating education system was so perfect to create the technology innovation that we had.
Yeah.
So it served the purpose, I think, for especially the high growth period. But these days, not only the innovation, but also we need to understand the needs of the market. Like in the case of the Sony, they were far advanced in technology, but lagged so far behind in understanding the needs of the users.
Right.
And that's the reason why I think they were beaten by Apple.
Yeah.
And that comes from the lack of communication skills, I would say.
Well, no, they have said that, and some of the guys at the head of Sony Labs, and they've said that they have silos, or had silos, so they weren't communicating with each other, they're competing with each other. And so, actually, communication is a big part of that, and vision, and that sort of looking outside yourself. I mean, it's hard to believe. I left Apple. So 10 years ago, I came back to Japan to become a college professor. It's hard to believe 10 years, but I remember at that time, 10 years, Japan was #1 in everything keitai, cell phones. We didn't have smartphones then, but far advanced.
Feature phones.
Yeah, what you could do on a phone.
Like thumb.
The Americans, we just had just like a deet, deet. That's all we. and you crash your car as you're trying to do
No.
a little silly text. But Japanese it was the internet. Well, it's
Right.
by today's standards, it was the crappy, not real internet, but it was the internet. So far advanced 10 years ago, and today it's all gone. It's all washed away. And in fact, I don't think there's going to be any makers left. That's the talk now. Any Japanese people making, any Japanese company making that kind of smartphone now technology. So that's a good sort of high-profile example.
Yes.
So that kind of perfectionist is good for many things. Customer
Yes.
service is amazing.
Yep.
But
That's right. Infrastructure, like train running on time, rely on public services.
Yeah.
Like once you make an order to government office or any institutions, it will be taken care most of the time, close to 99%.
Sure. So I like that part. We gotta work on the innovation part, which requires some risk taking and being more comfortable with risk. We'll work on that. Hey, let's get back. I didn't mention that you have a couple of books out already, but you have a new book, a new book coming out, and I'll put the picture of the title or of the cover. You have a book with the longest title in the history of books, I think. Could you say the title, please, and the subtitle?
Should I?
Well, first say it in Japanese.
Okay. It's 5000の場数を踏んだ同時通訳者が教える本当にビジネスで通じる英語フレーズ643.
That's just the title. Okay, now the subtitle. What's the subtitle?
Well, I don't have the subtitle right now.
Wait, isn't that on the wraparound? The wraparound says story. What story?
Yeah, that's right. Story, it's going to take a while for me to pull that up.
Okay, don't see. You got a book with a title so long you can't remember the title, but it won't matter because in Japan, book titles are often very long, and there's lots of stuff on them. We have high uncertainty avoidance in Japan, so we want to get all that information in the cover.
Exactly. So, but according to your presentation, then that's I think is a taboo, right?
Well, I don't say there are no taboos,
so
but
we didn't restrain, I guess.
Well, ironically, I learned restraint from Japan.
Oh, that's ironic, huh?
Yeah, I think that is. So, well, what's the name of the book in English, though? I'm looking at the title here.
Okay, so that's the business English phrase, 643 business English phrases that an simultaneous interpreter teaches you who have interpreted 5,000 business occasions.
Okay, so but if you could name, this book is really it's about learning English, but there's lots of books like that. 643 important phrases.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That you could learn, and not only are you learning English, but it's also useful. You can use it right away, and you're learning something about business. So it's kind of iseki nicho, kill two birds with one stone. You're learning English, but rather than learning this is a desk or I am a pen, you're learning.
I am a pen.
You can actually use it. Am I correct in translating that?
Yeah, I think you interpreted the title and the intent of publishing this book very correctly. That's
pretty cool. And then your expertise is 5,000 occasions of interpreting. Sometimes for famous people. Who have you interpreted for? Of course, I know you're friends with Tony Robbins. You'll be going.
A friend.
Oh, come on! Put your hearts and your hands together.
That's all.
So you're going to Australia to see Tony and to interpret for Tony soon, right?
Soon, yes. In fact, that's, oh my God, next week, maybe? Oh my God.
So you're going to Australia. I'll be in China.
Oh, really?
Where it's nice and cool. It's like 43 degrees at Celsius. Not cool at all. But anyway, so what was my question? I forgot. Not Tony Robbins. Who have you interpreted for? Tony Robbins?
Tony Buzan.
Yeah.
Tony Buzan, who invented the mind mapping.
The mind mapping, yeah.
Yep.
Who else? Bill Gates?
Bill Gates, no, I don't think so.
Oh, it was your buddy. It was your friend that did Bill Gates.
Yeah, that's right.
Who I met. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. So the former HP CEO.
And then also the other day I interpreted the presidents of some African countries because there was an international conference on African development here in Japan. So
that's pretty cool. So you're quite busy.
Yeah, very busy.
Right. I mean, you got books coming out. You interpret.
Yes.
You hang around with Tony Robbins in Australia.
Hanging around, working for him.
You do seminars as well.
Oh yes, 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 yes. But only for the first 6 months each year, because latter half, fall to the beginning of winter is quite busy for an interpreter. So I think it would be really hard for me to, organize seminars.
Okay. Well, this is called the Presentation Zen podcast. So
That's
we
right.
talk about things related to presentation. And of course, what you do is very much related to presentation. But you're also a great presenter yourself. I mean, standing on stage with the remote control and all that. You've spoken at the TED Worldwide Talent Search,
Talent
which
Search.
I think, I don't know how, the only 20 or 30 people were on stage, 20-ish.
23 or 26, I don't
Right,
exactly
but that was
remember.
chosen out of way over 100 videos that were submitted.
120 something,
Yeah, so that was amazing. You did a great job. And then you
you.
presented for TEDx Tokyo last year.
Last year, yes.
Right, so people can see that if they want to. But what if you does that come naturally to you to be on stage and
Of
be all charismatic or? So how did you get to that point?
Of course not.
Especially for Japanese. Although, the myth is, Japanese will say we can't be good at presenting, like Australians or Americans or Canadians or whatever. But, TED shows that isn't true. TEDx Tokyo and Kyoto and so on, because they easily can find great presenters in Japan. However, as you know from the business world, and I know in academia world as well, most presentations are really bad. It's not because the people aren't smart. They're very smart. They're very creative. But there's myriad reasons why they're really bad.
Yeah.
But how do you not do
so
that?
about
You're
my-
different. You're different. So how did you learn to be different?
Well, first of all, like I said before, I didn't have the shy part of, personality, which is very typical among Japanese. So that helped me a great deal. And I was willing to take a risk because I came from the background that I didn't have anything to lose. So that helped. And then also, I think, being an interpreter, I interpreted the various great presenters and also those who are not so
So
great.
you watched so you learned by watching what others
Exactly. And
were
then,
doing.
interpreting actually is a little bit more than just observation, because you will be speaking on behalf of them. You will be the Japanese voice or the English voice of that great speaker.
Yeah.
And like when I'm interpreting Tony Robbins, I'm him. Like I'm in that mode
right.
of being him, and like almost like channeling him.
Yeah, so you have to channel him for like 7 days. That must be only 6 days. That must be exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Because he speaks so fast,
Yeah.
and he does not really slow down like many other speakers would do if they were speaking in Japan, addressing the Japanese audience.
So your job is to interpret, which is not translation. I mean, in other words, it's not word for word. You're interpreting what he says, the ideas and the meaning. I don't mean poetically interpreting. I mean, you have to say exactly what he says, but it's different than, because it's ephemeral. It's in the moment. You can't stop. So it might not be exactly perfect, but at least the meaning's got to be.
Right.
And what I'm getting at is in this, because I learned this in graduate school in Hawaii, and tell me if this is true. I just hung out with interpreters, and they said that when they're interpreting, and if they hear something that they know is wrong, let's say they happen to know, they do know the topic, because you can't interpret, if you're interpreting for doctors, you have to know something about, HIV, AIDS, if that's the topic, let's say. And let's say the doctor says something which is wrong. I mean, he got it backwards. He said it wrong. What I had learned is what you just interpreted. You have to say what
Of course.
he said. Isn't that must be tough, because it's a mistake. He meant, if you were an assistant, which I have one because I need one, because she would say often, not that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. and I need that kind of help. But as an interpreter, you can't do that, even though you're right next to the person, right?
Yes, especially simultaneous interpretation, doesn't have that proximity with the speaker.
Right.
We are sitting in the booth far away from the podium, so we cannot really converse with the speaker while we are simultaneously interpreting. But when we are interpreting, we are that person, right? We are not really judging his comment or anything. We are just precisely comprehending the message that he's trying to communicate. So in my case, I'm so busy comprehending his message and then converting that into another language.
Right.
I don't usually have that kind of dilemma in my case.
Well, you might not even notice it, right? I mean, you're so
into it, yeah.
As you said, channeling them, you become them. You're just interested in interpreting and getting that out.
Exactly.
You might not even catch it.
Right, but it does happen. What would happen is that getting ahead of the speaker, like that does happen because we would probably read, couple of the speaker's books ahead of time. So we know what he or she is likely to say once we hear the beginning of a statement. So we may end up like stating something that he hasn't or she hasn't mentioned that yet. That does happen, but correcting that in my case doesn't really happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to come back to your thing that you're doing next week in Australia. Are you in Sydney or Brisbane,
I haven't checked
Perth?
that yet. Yeah, I
Melbourne?
haven't checked that yet, so I don't remember.
Well, I hope you know where you're going.
Gold Coast.
Okay, no, that's lovely. Oh my gosh,
Okay.
I mean it's
I've
winter.
never been there.
It's winter, but it's a bit.
is it?
It should be relatively mild, I think.
Well, I hope so.
How inspiring! I mean, I envy you. I think it'd be fantastic to go. That's got to be hard because it's very inspiring and the content is really interesting. But your job is not to be there and and soak in all the content, but to interpret.
Yeah, but I can soak the content while interpreting because I'm becoming him, right? So it's not that hard.
Yeah.
That part. Of course, we cannot go outside and do that exercise that dancing and all that. That I
Really?
miss out.
Don't you interpret for the fire walk? Do you do that?
Oh yeah, I've done that too. Yeah.
So you interpret only? You don't interpret what Japanese say. I mean, they're on their own, right? You're interpreting for them what Tony is saying. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yes. And in some cases, when Japanese people stand up and they make comment to the audience. In that case, we may have to translate from Japanese to English.
Yeah.
But that rarely happens because number of the participants overall is well over 2,000 or sometimes 4,000 depending upon the seminar. So and then the number of the Japanese ranges from 50 to 100 something.
Okay. So if they go do the fire walk, you don't have to interpret if they're going Atsi wa atsi.
No.
Shinjirarenai. Nande? Atsi wa.
And then you don't feel that hot, you don't feel anything actually.
Have you done the fire walk yourself?
Yeah, twice.
Sorry, that's Japanese for holy crap.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. I apologize for the vernacular. Well, I think, Tony Robbins must have rubbed off on you. I mean, you kind of took to heart what he says because you've been doing this work for a while, and that's helped you in your career. Actually, it's sort of.
I think that enabled me to publish books, and the first book, became a bestseller, selling 80,000 copies in just mere couple months, and that surprised me, and I really attribute that great success to his teaching.
Yeah, 80,000 in 2 weeks. So you're rich.
2 weeks, 2 months.
2 months. 2 days. That's amazing.
Not 2 days.
Anyway, I mean, authors would know, but if you're not, I mean, 80,000 copies a lifetime is a lot. So, I mean, no, I mean, most books would be lucky to get to 10,000. So that's amazing.
In this economy in Japan.
And in Japan and this economy, that is remarkable. So I think he's had some impact on you, or the lessons.
Most definitely, yes, most definitely.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. But is there any message you want to give to the Japanese listeners? We're doing this in English, but it's Yasashi English, right?
Yes, I think
Can
so.
you わかる？私の日本語。
わかると思うよ。I think they would understand you because you understand Japanese culture. So
全然わからへん。難しいわ。
You don't even need me, when you're. That's how I feel actually.
No. So you are my interpreter too when I present in English.
That's right.
And we've worked together 3 or 4 times, and we'll more in the future.
So actually, you're teaching in presentation rather than me. So the reason why I became a great presenter, actually is you.
Okay. Well, it's give me some of the money for the books, all those books you've sold.
Shoot. I shouldn't have said that.
No, we're not. Nobody's into this for the money.
That's right.
So what is the advice then for the Japanese listening, for the maybe people? They don't have to be young; they could be older or younger, but they're struggling with English, and they would really like to get better in 6 months.
6 months, just go out and speak to non-Japanese as many times as possible. Especially if they are living in Tokyo or Osaka, they would run across many foreigners, visiting Japan, and they would, love if all of you help them, just say, may I help you? Where would you like to go? Welcome to Japan. Thanks for coming. Or nice shoes or nice shirt. Are you, looking for something or, anything. And all those phrases that I mentioned, of course, can be handled by any Japanese who went to a junior high school, right? So, they should just try out and make more mistakes.
What's an example phrase or two from the book? You have 643 important phrases. Can you remember?
Oh my God.
Just one? Just one. Do I have to open the book? I don't have the book, so it's not published yet.
Me neither. It's printing right now. Well, one of the phrases is, I think I must have put the word milestone. Because in business occasion, it's important to to meet the milestones. Otherwise, the whole project may slip away from that original schedule. But the milestone, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says that literal meaning of stone placed at each mile.
Is that right? That's
right.
That's worthless.
So therefore, I was It was worthless when I first encountered the word milestone in the business setting. Why it has something to do with the project that I'm talking about.
Right.
And then, I learned from the context and an experience that actually the milestone is the key date of an important task that you have to fulfill.
A progression.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So these are mainly business phrases. So they're not. Yes. It's not about ordering lunch or dinner or anything like that.
Even though I do cover tips or the phrases that you could use entertaining their customers or maybe their counterparts from other countries.
Yeah, or anything on small talk? Because, in business you have to do that small talk, which...
And small talk leads to big talk. So, yes, I did cover that as well.
Yeah. How is the weather in Sydney? It's...
Well, rather than the weather, I included, phrases like, how was your flight to Japan? Like that phrase would usually show your interest in the other person, and then that compassion and helps them open up and then have a more meaningful and open discussion. So
Yeah, that first impression is so important.
it is.
When I was for my master's in Hawaii, I did my master's research. The final year was on identifying the behaviors that lead to a good first impression with, let's say, in this case, it was Americans. I mean, you could argue if it translates to other non-Japanese, but we just say, okay, Americans and Japanese. And out of the 30 behaviors, 3 of them were related to English, like grammar, pronunciation. And those 3 plus one other were identified as not important. These were it was 300 Americans who took the test. They said that the pronunciation and anything related to English, was not important for first impression. But things like you said, coming to them rather than being passive and saying something like, oh, you came from Guam. How is the weather in Guam? I have an uncle there, or whatever. But those behaviors that leads to that first great impression, rather than sitting against the wall and being, waiting to be spoken to.
Yeah. That's, I think, is the key thing to start a good relationship with your, counterparts or the clients or the, whoever you're working with.
Yeah.
So showing interest in them.
So you have those kinds of lessons and those kinds of phrases in the book. And when will
the cultural differences are also not fully, but the minimum amount of the cultural differences covered, so that you won't make a blunder.
Right. So when is the book coming out? When can we get it on the shelves?
I think it will hit the shelves of the bookstores on August 29th. At least that's the target date.
Okay. Excellent. So,
yes.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll get some and I'll give them away and, for my students.
Oh, I will have a couple books sent to you then.
Okay. Excellent. And if you ever come down to Kansai, you can come speak to my Japanese students.
Great. Really? Yeah. Can I do that?
Well, maybe we can do it. We can set up a presentation. In fact, maybe you and I can do something where I'll do like a presentation about presentations for 30 minutes, and then you could do something about English, how to learn English, and relate that to presentation. Awesome. Yeah, we can do that.
When do you want to do that?
Well, I have a deadline on my next books for October 15th, so maybe after that. November-ish?
Actually, November is the busiest month for interpreters. So how about December?
Oh, December is good. Yeah.
December is good.
It'll be snowy and Christmas is in the air, so we'll be in a good mood.
Good. Excellent.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
we'll call it the Yayoi and Gar Comedy Hour. No, I mean...
Comedy Hour. Sitcom.
Education Hour. Yeah, we can be like a manzai.
Manzai, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much. And is there a website where people can go to find you?
Ogumayayoi.com.
What? Could you repeat that, please?
Ogumayayoi.com.
Okay,
so my full name.
I'll put it down in the. I almost wrecked my microphone. I'll put it down in the in the liner notes on the website, so people can just click and go there and ask you questions. It's all in. Is it in English as well? The information?
Actually, everything is in Japanese.
Yeah. 大丈夫です. It's okay, but they can contact you in English if they have some question or if they want to hire you for interpretation. You're famous, so you're not cheap, but you're amazing. So I can highly recommend to anyone who needs an interpreter in Japan, especially in Tokyo, to call Yayoi.
Yes.
You should just be like yayoi.com. Is that available? It's a lot easier.
No, I don't think so, because there was a company named Yayoi, which was a counting software company.
Oh, okay.
So therefore, no, it wasn't possible.
Yayoi.jp. Simple.
Yeah, that's right. That's another lesson.
Or something like Little Bear. So your name is in Japanese, the kanji is a Little Bear. Oguma, right?
But Oguma Yayoi is my full name. What's wrong with that? I think it's quite simple. I didn't add anything extra.
Yeah, it's simple to me, but
but not to non-Japanese, I guess.
Yeah, you just have to say it very slowly.
Ogumayayoi.com. Please visit my website.
All right, I hope someone's not just tuning in now. They think it's Something's wrong with the internet. Okay, so we'll see you. Have a great time in Australia. I'll be thinking of you from China.
In Beijing, right?
Beijing and Shanghai.
In Beijing and Shanghai.
I just go there to cool off, have some iced tea. It's lovely this time of year.
Enjoy the hot weather.
Hi. All right. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you.
Sayonara.
Talk to you soon.
Hi. Bye bye.
Bye.
失礼します。